and welcome to today's show behind the screen for Ghosts of Saltmarsh. My name is Guy and I run the YouTube channel How to Be a Great GM. If you are a fan of Ghosts of Saltmarsh and you are here to watch the actual live play, that only kicks off in 25 minutes. So go and grab something to drink, make that popcorn, get yourself comfortable, sit back and relax. If you don't want spoilers, mute the channel or go and check on Facebook because this contains spoilers. I am talking to you in the next 20 minutes or so as to my plans for today's session. And that means we're going to have to review, see what's going to come up, and of course, I will be telling you my plans. So if you don't want to see that, see you in 20 minutes. For those of you that do, however, let us begin with a basic review. Where are we? Where are we? So we are, I've got a map that I'm going to show you, and I've got our plan to walk through. So let's look at our plot. That's our plot outline for the show. Let's have a look. We are supposed to be at this point somewhere around the discovery of the Lich's plans. That's where we are. We've got basically 4 shows left. We're on episode 8 of 12 now. So the players need to discover the Lich's plans. Now, what I've done to set up that discovery is, of course, I've directed them to go to the Pit of Gaudragar, where they must speak with Gaudragar the Wise, or the Ancient. Gaudragar the Ancient. Now, what they are going to discover there is they're going to discover the Lich's plans. What are the Lich's plans? Well, this is where we need to reassess and look at the plot. With 4 episodes left, I'm supposed to have the Sahagin adventure. I'm telling you now, that's being rewritten. And there's a reason for it. I want the climax, the final battle, as you can see here, I want that to be as dramatic as possible. So I need 2 sessions, I need 2 episodes in which to do that. So that means I've got to discover the Lich's plans, and then that Sahagin adventure number 1, that is all I have left to set up my finale. Now, we've got lots of things up in the air at the moment. There's the whole Prime Water story with Captain Salt. There is the actual relic that they're busy building, the Kenta Aha artifact. What is that going to do? All of those are still in the air, so we need to start wrapping those up so the players don't feel unfulfilled when we get to the climax. Because remember, the climax, it's got to have an ultimate conclusion. It's got to be climatic. It needs to really finish up stuff. We need to wrap up any loose strings so that by the end of it, the players feel as if they have come full circle. They've gone on a wonderful journey, and that in season 2, if there was one, or in the second campaign, which would continue from this one, we would then start to unpack a new adventure. We wouldn't necessarily have anything that clings on from the previous one, unless that's what we want to do, in which case then we don't have to wrap up if we don't want to. We do want to wrap up, though. We want to bring it to a nice conclusion so that we're not left sort of hanging, wondering what's going on. Okay, so the Pit of Gaudragar, where do we stand at the moment? Well, at the moment, we've got the ship under attack by Callista Crow, the notorious bounty hunter who's been dispatched by Prime Water to make sure that Salt is, in actual fact, a captive of the lizard folk. That has now been proven to be untrue, and so Callista and her ship have decided to attack the second chance. Now, that is going to result in a rather interesting battle. So let's go to some maps now. Now, I've got this mysterious one. I'm not going to talk about it just yet. So hold on to your horses. And I will be taking questions. Don't worry. I will be coming to that. But I just want to show you this. So this is the battle scene as we have it at the moment. We've got some overlays here. Now, this is courtesy of Fantasy Grounds, our virtual tabletop of choice, combined with Dungeon Fog for creating those beautiful ships. So when you put the two together, you get this interface. Now, the way that ship combat works, very, very briefly, as written in Ghosts of Saltmarsh, is that the 2 ships sail towards each other. They've got a movement speed, and they can fire various things. They can fire their ballista, they can fire mangonels. That's the B and the M on your screen. And they have hull, and they have sails, they have helm as well. So when you look at this display, I'm going to see if you can see my mouse. You can. All right, so when the weapons are targeting the hull of the ship, the dice get dropped onto the actual ship itself, and the hull takes damage. When they want to target the helm, they drop the dice onto the helm icon, and the helm takes damage. The same with the shield, the sails, the ballista, and the mangonels. Now, the opposition ship, the opposing ship, has got 2 ballista and 1 mangonel, so those are represented there. Combat would then play through as normal, with the 2 ships maneuvering around one another using various standard movement rules and the like, and so things would then continue until one ship surrendered, sailed away, or just basically was sunk. I've ratcheted things up with a homebrew system, which, again, I'm very grateful Fantasy Grounds supports, allowing, I'm allowed to program in bits and pieces, and this isn't even programming and stuff. So I've got this thing here called the Scale Movement Tracker. Now, what I've done is, instead of moving 5 foot by 5 foot by 5 foot on a battle map, which is what you traditionally would do, instead we've got this scale. So at 800 feet, the mangonels are firing at disadvantage. This is information coming straight out of the DMG. At 300 foot, the ballista are firing with disadvantage. At 200 feet, the mangonels are no longer at disadvantage, and I think the ballista are no longer at disadvantage at 100 foot. Doesn't matter. Fantasy Grounds will work all of that out for us. And what's going to happen is, as the ships move together or apart, this little tracker is going to move up and down. Oops, not the ship. The tracker is going to move up and down. So we've abstracted, that's why it's called the Scale Movement Tracker. We've abstracted the distance so that the ships are only ever 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 turns apart, just to kind of speed things up. We've also got a wind compass here, which will rotate around as the wind rotates. I'm not going to rotate it now because we determined the wind is coming from the north. So that allows us to then check and see, well, if the ships are angled on the wind, they get a certain speed bonus. If they're off the wind, they get a different speed. And if they are against the wind, they get a completely different speed altogether. They really slow down. So this combat is going to take place, and I reckon it's probably going to take about 40 minutes or so. What I've also done is, in the original Ghost of Saltmarsh, there are orders that the captain and crew can give to the ships, such as movement, fire, weapons, and the like. In the homebrew that I've done, I've increased that to probably about 25 or 26 different orders that various members of the crew can give to the ship, ranging from firing the weapons and that sort of thing, as well as other things for non-traditional combat characters to be able to do. So maybe the players are going to use those today. Maybe they're not. It's entirely their purview as to how they want to handle this battle. We don't control that. So that's what they're going to do. Now, once they've finished doing that, once they have finished this battle, assuming that they live. Let me just make this one a little bit smaller because the second chance is the same size as the Thunder's Bite. So once they've finished this combat, they're then going to go into, and let me just close this down, they're going to go into the Pit of Gaudragar. Now, again, this is a map made for us in Dungeon Fog. And you go, well, what's the map? Yeah, let me zoom out. Oh, let me keep zooming out some more. And some more. And some more. The Pit of Gaudragar is this tremendously deep or bottomless pit. Now, this map is not a top-down map. It's a side map. It's a profile map. So, in other words, what's happening is when I come over here, this is a cave within the Pit of Gaudragar, and our players are going to, our player characters anyway, are going to be swinging inside these caves looking for Gaudragar the Ancient. Now, I have pre-populated this map with some monsters that the characters could fight if I have enough time. So if they get through that battle with Captain Crow very quickly and the Thunder's Bite, then the Pit of Gaudragar might be filled with all kinds of horrid and nasty things. If, on the other hand, the battle takes too long, then the Pit of Gaudragar is going to be remarkably devoid of life, and we'll narratively figure out why. I simply don't have the luxury of spending too much time here. Now, what Till did, he's the map maker, he put in these lovely little tentacles down in the dark, which I think is absolutely, absolutely delightful little detailing to add in. It is supposedly a bottomless pit, and if you look at it, there are hundreds of feet from the top down to the bottom. What this does is this gives us our first aquatic experience. Now, aquatic combat is something to bear in mind. It's three-dimensional. Dungeons & Dragons doesn't traditionally handle three-dimensional combat very well. It isn't really a major thing. So attacking from above and below and left and right and sideways, it's all very abstracted. So what I decided to do was to say, here, you're attacking from the front, from the back, from the above, and from the below, just to make it a little bit more interesting. So that's this map, so bear that in mind when we're seeing this map. That is what we're actually seeing. Now, this little pin is Fantasy Grounds controller, so when I click on that, it will just bring up all of the stats for the monsters and the like. I'm going to go to some questions if there are any. Let's have a look and see. So many people in the chat already. Welcome all of you. I'm glad you got the notice that we're a little bit earlier. The reason for that is D&D is doing some special stuff from San Diego Comic-Con. I'm very jealous that they're down there. Of course, I will be at Gen Con on the from the 1st of August to the 4th of August. Come and find me. I'll be running around doing all sorts of crazy things. So will Janet from World Anvil and Michael Kessevan from Dead Aussie Gamer. So come and find us there. And even Game Master's Vault, who is in the chat and runs all the stuff behind the scenes. So we're all going to be there. So come and find us if you are there. Now, questions. Let's see. Are there any questions? There's a question from BNAA UK. How on earth do you make up these names? And a better question, how are you even saying these names? Which names? Which names? Are we talking the Pit of Gaudragar and Gadra the Ancient? Gadra the Ancient was suggested by you guys. If you head on over to the website, the Game Master's website, you can submit an NPC. I've got Excel spreadsheet with hundreds of names on the that have been submitted by you guys. So I'm just picking off names that I find particularly interesting or different. So that's where some of the names are coming from. So have a look at that. I see there's a bit of buffering going on with the Twitch channel. I hope that comes right. I hope you can still hear me. I nearly startled you out of your hammock, AK Writer. I'm sorry about that. We'll have a look at that. Have a look at that. Any other questions? Let's see. Question. Oh, yes. Please put the word question in front of your questions so that I can see them, so they can stand out. Pirate Knight 1 says, can players' personal actions abilities help ship combat? Very much so. So part of the entire experience was trying to work out how the player characters can participate in the ship's battle if they're not sort of combatants or if they're not ship-oriented. So Ghost of Saltmarsh is designed for a regular party of characters to have some naval stuff. The supplement that I've been working on is for much more in-depth naval and nautical action. So some of the playtesting feedback that we've had was, how do we get the players to be able to do stuff? So you'll see that what the players can actually do is, on their turn within the initiative, players are free to take any kind of actions that they so choose. They can do a standard action or a full action, and they can issue a ship's order as a free or bonus action depending on what rank they hold aboard the ship. They can issue a second order if they so choose, and that will be at a standard action penalty. So they can decide if they want to act or not. So if they've got bows, if they've got spells, they can certainly fire those off during ship combat. And of course, they can repair the ship. They can take all kinds of personal actions to basically facilitate that the ship stays floating, pretty much. So that's been built into the system. The ships are limited, something that was a lovely maneuver, I think, on behalf of Ghost of Saltmarsh. The book, it said, ships have a certain number of actions based upon the number of crew that are available to enact those. So although there might be 5 PCs, they can all shout orders, but only 3 of those orders will be followed. The rest, it's simply not enough crew to actually do it all. So that is definitely a pressure point, I would say. The captain, of course, can override anybody, because that's the benefit of being a captain, I suppose. Next question, Scorchclaw. Do you think the rules in Ghosts of Saltmarsh and your supplement can be adapted for airships? Scorchclaw, you know, it's a great question, and I've been debating, do we include aerial combat in terms of ships? in this supplement, and we've decided not to. We have included aerial units because part of the ships that I've added to the book are aircraft carriers, basically, with Pegasi and hippogriffs and griffins and bats and giant eagles and all kinds of wonderful things. So we've devised a thing called squadrons, which allows for aerial deployment of units within the battle. We won't see that here in this episode. I'm hoping in the end episode you'll get to see that in action, but we haven't included aerial combat, and yes, they would work for aerial combat if you have flying ships and the like. Ghost of Saltmarsh created a very robust ship simulation space, and what they did initially when I read it, I was like, and then the more I read it, I went, yes, and then finally I was like, yes, this is brilliant. Now, how can we take it to the next level? So I've had the advantage of running ship-based games for quite a long time. The last campaign I ran, which is The Adventures of the Windswift, was basically a ship-based game, and that ran for almost 2 years. So during that time period, lots of questions came up that needed to be answered, like, how much do I make as profit if I sell 5 tons of flour at a local market and then I buy it at a local market and sell it on the other side of the globe? What are portage fees? How much? All those kinds of things. So that's what's in the supplement. It's really just there to add much more nautical-based stuff for people who really want to go really in depth. So that is something to bear in mind. But if you're just wanting a really cool sailing ship experience, Ghost of Saltmarsh on its own does a fantastic job of that. So you've got to read your players, and you've got to decide what kind of campaign you're running. Is it going to be heavily naval-based, where all of your player characters are sailors and officers aboard a ship, or is it part of a bigger campaign and most of the stuff is going to happen on land, or is it going to be predominantly underwater? Ghost of Saltmarsh does some amazing underwater stuff in terms of whirlpools and generating islands, and there's some really cool stuff in that, so have a look at that. Let's see, another question from AK Writer. I take it the races of 4 of your PCs can breathe underwater, but what feature will you have for Victor Salt so he can participate in underwater breathing? It's an interesting one. We've got a lot of options up our sleeves. We've got the spell water breathing. We've got potions of water breathing. Those are 2 predominant options that we could look at. We could even have a suit of a certain kind, a magic item, helm of water breathing, that kind of thing. So yes, it's a big shift, and a lot of GMs, I think, are put off from running aquatic campaigns because of the disparity. How do you handle air breathers now underwater? Water breathing runs out, helmets can be removed, and then you've got characters stuck in a very difficult situation. Underwater combat is complicated even further if you are not a water breather. If you are underwater and you are holding your breath, there are certain weapons that you actually get disadvantage on when trying to use, as opposed to certain other weapons. So there's lots of stuff going on in there. Ghost of Saltmarsh covers all of that very elegantly, I believe. But yes, potions of water breathing become a lot more commonly available, and that's definitely something to bear in mind. Right, let's see. Any other questions? Yes, Pirate Knight 1. Does the book have rules for subs also? I know your book has ships for the water races. Yes, a large component of that is the aquatic ships. So what ship would a merfolk use? What ship would the Sharkan use? The kobolds have got a little ship called a current runner. And the current runners are these long, modular, almost like sea dragons that float around in the currents under the water and can break apart into little pods, because I thought seabolds are probably like that. They're kind of like swarmy, so the pods break apart with tendrils, almost looking like jellyfish, I suppose, allowing each seabold to attack independently and then recoalesce into these longer convoy dragons and things. So there's lots of sub stuff there. There's a little joke about gnomish ships. There's one gnomish ship which cannot submerge, but its acronym is sub. So there's that. The gnomes have got a thing called water hopper, I think it is, which hops on the water because they don't want to sail in the water until it actually fails. It can go underwater as well, so there's lots of stuff about that too. The big question, of course, the release date. I was hoping for the end of July, but we decided that we wanted to have lots of illustrations. 27 ships, 27 illustrations, 27 deck plans. So there's a lot going into that book. And we're getting there. We're getting there. We are in the edit phase, of course, and that playtesting, editing, that always takes time as well, because we are trying to make sure that everything remains compatible with what has been set before. So there we are. Okay, we've got 5 minutes left before the show kicks off. So any final questions would be great about the Ghost of Saltmarsh campaign. I don't see... Oh, AK Writer, follow-up question. Breathing underwater through spells and other shenanigans is nice, but will you also incorporate things like water pressure or currents? I'm not entirely sure. So in terms of water pressure and currents, the official standing rules in terms of Dungeons & Dragons handling depth of water is it affects the amount of light available. So at a certain depth, I think it's 1,000 feet, you go from normal light, you go down to dim light, and then you go to no light, dark light kind of conditions. There isn't really rules and mechanics for pressure. What they do say, though, is that the moment you have the ability to breathe underwater, so in other words, if you have a spell or a magic item, for example, that imbues you with water breathing, you are no longer really affected by those kinds of things. Now, interestingly enough, a little bit of research that was conducted is that if you are breathing water, pressure isn't too much of a problem. You can go down without too much of an issue. The reason why we have problems with submarines and submersibles and things is that it's the air inside that compresses, whereas the outside, of course, is water. So if water is inside and outside, there's nothing to compress because you can't compress water. So pressure doesn't become too much of a problem. Anyway, that's a complete aside. Next question. So yes, but there are water currents and things. You'll see that there are complications with the ships when the ships are sailing and things. We've added in more tables of ship complications such as water currents, silt, plankton streams, Saragossa weed, all those kinds of fun things. Stormclaw says, how will Pinky be tortured today? Well, who knows, really? I do have something planned, though. I do have something planned, which I'm actually not going to spoil because I think you guys might enjoy it. If the players have got enough time when they get to the Pit of Gaudragar, Pinky may or may not beat a relative. Let's just leave it at that. We've got 3 minutes. BNA UK says, how do you feel about magic spells like Fireball being used underwater? It's a good question. It's a good question. Did I answer it in the book? No. Is it answered anywhere else? No. It is a spell. So for me, when you look at magic, you say, okay, well, if you're going to start saying Fireball doesn't work underwater, there are a whole lot of things that wouldn't work underwater. And then Lightning Bolt would electrocute the caster just as fast as it would electrocute the target that it was fired at. On the other hand, if you look at how 5th edition has changed the spell type, so from the earlier editions where Fireball set things on fire, it no longer does that. Now it just does the damage as fire damage. So I would argue that spells that are doing that kind of damage, elemental damage, but not combusting anything, so in other words, they're not actually fire, they are magical fire, would work exactly the same as anywhere else. Now, I know that, of course, you've got the problem of a fireball expanding to fill the void, and of course in an air environment it can expand like an explosion. In water it's contained more, so there are those kinds of things that come into play. It gets to a point where you have to sit back and say, well, it's a game. How far do we want to take the simulation? So we've had the same issue in the book. It's like, okay, well, if the ship starts to sink, how long does the ship take to sink? Well, hit points in Dungeons & Dragons is at 1 hit point you are as effective as you are at maximum hit points. So the ships should be the same. So we've been debating, how far do you take the realism? Anyway, it's something to look at. It is definitely something to understand. Yes, you're quite right. Rules as written, fire does half damage underwater. So is that something you want to add in? Something to think about. Anyway, without any further ado, goodbye from me. We'll see you in the Ghosts of Saltmarsh.
We fought them in the air, on land, and under the waves. But it wasn't enough. Brave folk banded together, united in hope and allied in goal. But it wasn't enough. The black tide brought with it an evil of terrible power. Darkness sank into the hearts of us all. For we knew, as above in the skies we lost, so on land we'd lose. And our only hope was below. But it wasn't enough. Forces unknown to us were at work, and in those dark days it found purchase wherever it touched. For our best wasn't enough. And yet, a single light burns in the dark night, and it might be enough.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Ghosts of Saltmarsh, Call of the Kraken. Now, we're going to jump straight into it. We will be ending slightly earlier, as we started slightly earlier as well. Lots of important things happening down at San Diego Comic-Con, and D&D will be bringing you that stuff live from down there, as a matter of fact. I see I've got everybody here, so let's go through it quickly. We've got Myri from Germany. How are you doing? Actually, you're not in Germany at the moment, are you?
Yeah, I'm from Germany, but right now I'm in Norway, actually, because I'm touring two of the Scandinavian countries right now. And I've been in Sweden without visiting Jenny so far. And right now I'm in Norway, in Bodø, beyond the Arctic Circle. So hi from far up north. And I'm great. I'm looking forward to how we're going to get to the pit of Gaudragar without getting boarded by another ship on the way.
That's right. Okay, and then we have the ever beautiful Luna. How are you?
Oh, yeah, I'm fine. I'm ready to get to Gaudragar and ready to not die in the process. I'm very excited about what's happening in the campaign. And, I'm Janet as well. That's my name. Hello.
Hello, Janet. Mark.
Hello. How's it going, everyone?
There are already questions in chat. How is Pinky going to die today? I say, let Pinky live. Let him live today.
Wonderfully. If he'd had a fire crystal in him and I'd thrown him at the enemy ship, maybe could have set it on fire. But, you know...
He chewed. He chewed instead of swallowing. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good.
You're good. Michael, how you doing from us?
G'day guys, yeah, I'm doing great. I'm super keen for today's game. Yeah, honestly, I cannot wait for an actual ship battle. Super eager to blow the other ship out of the water, or hopefully run away, because I am not losing the ship again. I'm not losing the ship again!
Speaking of losing the ship, Captain Salt, how are you doing, Jenny?
Do this to me, Guy. You always do this to me. I'm doing well, thank you. Victor's doing less well, but so far we're afloat, which is the situation we want to be in. So, I mean, couldn't be better, really.
There you go. Couldn't be better. Now, making the situation even better for us are our wonderful sponsors who have made this show possible. Dungeons and Dragons, of course, goes without saying. Thank you for the Mars amazing game system that we get to use and abuse. And, of course, then we have World Anvil, worldanvil.com. Links are being shared by moderators in chat as we speak. Hopefully, they're all busy panicking now trying to find those links. World Anvil, you can go and find character details on the Heroes section of World Anvil. as well as information about the campaign, Ghost of Saltmarsh, all housed on World End. So thank you for that. Dungeon Fog, who created all the beautiful maps that the players get to fight upon. Thank you for sponsoring all the maps and things. We really do appreciate that. And they've actually released a special aquatic map pack, which you can have access to shortly. If you can't already access it, I think you can. I'm not sure. Stand to be corrected. Nonetheless, there is that. And then, of course, Fantasy Grounds. Fantasy Grounds, our virtual tabletop of choice, providing all the roles and things and making ship combat that much easier. Without further ado, let's talk treasure quickly. Mama Saduk's treasure, as a matter of fact, is up for grabs. Head on over to www.greatgamemaster.com, find the map, and start following the clues. And I have just realised in my idiocy that I have forgotten to update those clues. Oops. So give me 2 miserable little seconds as I, on the fly, that was number 8.
Entertain audience.
Yeah, a live audience. Again, it wouldn't be a show with me, would it? If it wouldn't.
Actually, while he's doing that, a really good bit of advice is if you are tuning in like now instead of like right at the beginning, every single episode has a different clue. So be sure, if you haven't checked them out already, to go back, watch all the stuff on YouTube. It's available on the D&D YouTube channel, as well as the How to Be a Great Game Master RPG channel, or you can watch it here on Twitch because we're there as well. We're everywhere. Go find us.
Ow.
Absolutely, thank you. There we go. All right, so the new clue is updated. The new clue is updated. I see I'm overmodulating here, so I'm going to bring that down a bit. All right, new clue is updated. Let's get on with it. So there's less silliness from me making technical mistakes yet again. Right, cast your minds back. The gentle lapping of the waves against the freshly repainted hull of the Second Chance. The breeze slowly fluttering amongst the ropes and rigging, gently playing out a whimsical tune of fresh summer days and fresh sea breezes. The massive ballista protruding from the central mast, where it has just impacted, having shattered through part of the yardarm and being fired from the Thunder's Bite, the ship bearing down upon you with a great vengeance, intent on delivering the death blow to Victor Salt and Company. We are in the midst of battle. You started to cast your magic flick to get the ship moving as fast as it could, but unfortunately you were at anchor as the Thunder's Bite bore down upon you. So when we are calculating the speeds, Thunder's Bite is moving at 55 foot per round. You guys are moving at 30, thanks to the magic of flick. That means the Thunder's Bite is drawn ever closer. So let's go and have a look at our battle map. Thunder's Bite is now at 400 foot and closing. She is bearing down on you. She is moving with the wind, as are you. We are going to have a look at our initiative tracker. And the very first person to act is... Get in there. Get in there. Got to move through all of these things. Indigo, what are you doing?
I will use one of my actions as the surgeon and order some of the crew, who are kind of like my little helpers, to issue a tonic to the crew, because I think we can need all the power and strength that we have. It's probably a very nasty concoction that Indigo has come up with, but it's going to strengthen our crew a little bit. So.
That is what you hope. That is what you hope. You're going to issue an invigorating tonic. Your crew quality, if I stand to be corrected, was a whopping 3. So your crew are going to have to try and make that check. Any one of you, roll me a d20 and add 3 to it. Anyone else roll a d20? Well, no, we have to take the first roll because that was the roll called for. But next time, perhaps we can look for somebody else. So at 8, the crew...
Wasn't me. It was Fantasy Grounds.
Look at this tonic. The tonic itself, unfortunately, may have been a little bit old. It needed to be redone, perhaps. It doesn't seem to take effect. As a result, it does not improve crew quality at all. That's one of your ship actions. Are you doing anything else, Indigo? That was a free action for you to issue that order to down tonics.
Then the other thing I'm going to do is use my druid craft and look at what the weather is going to be like in the future if the winds are going to change or anything other may come up that kind of might help us to run away from this other ship.
Give me a survival check, if you please.
A what check? Come
Survival check. Survival check.
Survival check, of course. Scroll. There you are, survivor. Middle of the road.
There is a storm brewing out at sea. If it gets any bigger, it might start to affect local wave action as well as winds. Heading out to sea could prove to be dangerous at this point in time. Flick! Thunder's Bite is bearing down upon you. Her sails are full. You can see she has a mage who is also doing what you are doing, filling the sails with magical air. Do you want to continue to use your wind action to increase the ship's speed by 10, or are you going to do something else?
Yes. And at the same time, I want to make Flick appear as large as possible on the deck of the ship. So I'd like to grab little bits of canvas that have come down, and I'd like to just wave them around in my hands, like little pom-poms.
Okay, you are. Give me a performance check.
Ooh.
As you try and make yourself look bigger with scraps of fabric.
I'm not very good at this.
Oh, it's going to be one of those sessions, is it? All right, well, you hop around waving these flags and things. Give me a dexterity saving throw, if you please.
Oh no.
Dex saving.
A dex save, yes.
Okay, good. Good.
No.
Oh, good,
no.
a natural 1.
What are you bloody doing?
Flick, you're busy waving your flags and things, and yeah, you get consumed by the canvas and the rope, and your wind spell fails as you are wrapped up in this
Wrapping
thing.
yourself like a mummy.
Yes, you mummied yourself there. Lahuna, what are you doing?
How far away is this ship?
400 foot and closing.
Butts. Okay, I will continue to try and get the ship away from the other ship. I am going to, if you recall last time, I was doing full speed ahead
That's right.
at the wheel.
Yes.
If I do that again this round, will we go faster?
Hopefully.
Then that is what I shall do.
There we go.
I stand with the wheel. I've got
Crawley.
Morley, thank you, Morley underneath. I've got my arms on the top, and we're both steering the wheel together, and we're both trying to steer to make the most of the wind. So I am going to go full speed ahead, which is 1d6 plus 5. Help me,
5.
fantasy
1d6.
grounds. You're my only hope. And
10
it's a
feet
2.
around. 10 feet around. You are moving at plus 10 foot per round.
Thanks.
You're trying to tack with the wind, although you are already sailing with the wind. That pushes your speed up to 65 foot because you are now fully underway. So, yes, that is definitely what's happening. However, at 400 foot, the Thunder's Bite begins firing all weapons. They have issued orders to take out your sails, and that is exactly what they're going to try and do. There is the Thunk Clump as the first. At that range, it will be completely ineffective. So the mangonels fire at your sails. They sail through the air. A natural 1 on the mangonels sees the mangonels fire, but the large stone that was loaded up into them completely fails. It actually lands in their own deck. Not helping their cause whatsoever. They can't take any other actions for this particular round. We then get to Jaggerjaw. Jaggerjaw, what are you doing?
Jaggerjaw looks for one of the deck crew, preferably one of the riggers, and grabs hold of him. As he grabs hold of him, he pulls him towards him and says, "You, get up that rig and you fix that sail. If you do not, I'm going to make sure that we're going to start throwing debris to make sure that we go faster, and I'm going to start with you. Get climbing!"
Oh! He starts climbing as fast as he possibly can up the rigging. What order are you giving the Jaggerjaw?
Jury rig. So I need to make a strength check DC 14 in order to try and heal the sails some.
There you go. Okay, someone can give me a... There we go. +3 is 15.
All right.
That is suitable. There is a lot of hammering and banging and clashing and splicing of the mizzenmast and all those wonderful nautical things that happen. And 7 hit points are restored to the sails. So I'm just going to find the sails now.
Fast stitching.
There's some desperately fast stitching going on when there's a giant shark threatening to eat you. You stitch pretty damn quickly, let me tell you. Jaggerjaw, are you doing anything else?
That's all I can really do.
For now?
Unless,
okay.
I'll move over to the mangonel. That's what I'll do.
Sure thing. Moving along, we get to a very small little pinky who is currently laughing and pointing at a certain mummied seabold. That's what it's doing. Victor Salt, Captain.
Yes. Are there any actions left?
Yes, you have 1 action left.
I have not an action left. I would like to do the.
Oh no, wait! I'm lying. Sorry. Luhuna took one, Indigo took one, and Jagsy took one. Apologies. Yes.
Can I just start preparatory hiding? I want to just sort of go to the prow of the ship and just start looking around for somewhere where we can loose them. Islands, reefs, anything like that.
That's not a bad thought. The swamps are nearby. If you want to risk taking the ship into the mouth of the lagoon, you can. But the silting
ship, because I do know her ship. Ours is a smuggling ship, so it's designed to be able to go closer to land, so it would have a shallower hull.
Yes, unfortunately, so is the Thunder's Bite.
Oh, damn it. Okay.
Other than that, there's open sea, or you can try and hug the coast, but that's particularly dangerous given the rocks and things that you might be able to hit there if you're lucky. Or unlucky.
Which direction are we going right now? Are we going which?
Currently, you are sailing southeast. Southeast, you were heading towards the pit of Gaudragar.
Yeah.
Right, continue.
I'm just gonna keep yelling at people who aren't moving fast enough, and then I'm gonna go and cut Flick loose.
All right.
Sort of dragging up onto his feet and just go get moving. Stop mucking about.
Oh, okay.
There we go. One of you roll a d20 to determine if there is any kind of nautical complication. Anyone can roll, it doesn't really matter, just don't roll a 1.
Not me, not this time.
That's not a 1, it's a 16. The waters remain calm. Indigo, you watch as... Is there a dark shadow under the water near the ship? You're not entirely sure. Could be. The creaking of the bow slams into the waves. Indigo, are you doing anything?
Indigo's
sorry, I need to calculate the distance of travel. You're travelling at 65 foot per round, and so is the Thunder's Bite. So there is no change to the difference of position. Still at 400 feet. What are you doing, Indigo?
Indigo first off yells toward Victor. There's a storm brewing on the open sea. Winds are gathering and turning, and the sea will rise. It will be dangerous for us, but also for them.
Let's head into it.
And then she leans over the railing and tries to get a look at the dark shape in the water.
Give me a perception check.
That's probably going to be another problem.
The creature or the perception check?
Yes. Both, as it turns out.
Oh no!
You realize it was the shadow of the ship being cast upon the waters. An illusion of your mind, perhaps. Something not as it seemed. There is a sharp snap of sail, and Flick, you have been released from your bandaged entombment by the captain. What are you doing?
I think Flick has given up on trying to propel the ship forward, and so he's going to go up to Indigo and just sort of try and help with reading the weather. And by help, just occasionally making, no, look at that! Oh, generally
it's
being a nuisance.
disadvantage.
Just generally being a nuisance.
But I am
like
trying
it.
to read the wind, which is an action that I can do.
It is indeed an action that you can do, yes. Give me a survival check, I believe. Your ship size is +5, so your target DC is really low. You rolled really high, which is brilliant. You are indeed reading the wind, and that gives your ship a slight increase in speed, putting it at 70 foot per round now, as long as the wind doesn't change. So you are now about to start breaking away from the Thunder's Bite, unless they do something to change that. Luna.
I'm gonna stay at the wheel. I'm on the top, Molly's on the bottom. I'm singing yo ho ho and a bottle of banana daiquiris, and I'm gonna roll another d6 and pray. Here we go, and it's another 2.
All right, you. Oh well, you don't have to re-roll. It stays as it was, still moving forward, being quite efficient on the wheel. Morley's not really helping; he's just hanging. Really, that's what he's doing at this moment in time.
It's all the banana daiquiris.
It's all the banana daiquiris. That's all it is.
That's what's happening.
Once again, the Thunder's Bite fires her mangonels at maximum, opportunity, I suppose. Misses completely again. What is up with these rolls? Good grief. The boulders flying wide around the ships. There's some frustration going on. She is going to order that to happen. There is a burst of speed from the Thunder's Bite as there's a sound of splashing going on. You can see that the crew are busy throwing cargo off of the side of the ship as fast as they can. That's given her a burst of speed, bringing her up to probably 70 foot around as well. Jaggerjaw.
Jaggerjaw goes to the mangonel. Who's manning it at the moment?
Manning the mangonel at the moment is none other than Scurvy Till the Map-eyed Mapmaker.
But he's looking after my eggs.
They're in the basket at my feet. Foot. He says, stumping his peg leg. What can I do for you, Captain Jaggerjaw to be?
What? Excuse me?
I'll take a moment to chew that. All right. I will render assistance to Till, placing a firm but supportive hand or fin on his shoulder, and I'll say, "Now, Till, I got something for you, mate. Come here. If you take out one of their sails, I'll set you up on a date with Lahuna."
And a bottle of banana daiquiris.
There is a brief moment where both of his eyes open wide, and then he remembers, I'll hit him, don't you worry, sir, don't you worry.
That's what I want to hear. All right, show us what you got.
Firing the mangonel at their sails, sir, he says as he makes his desperate attack. It sails across the air. I should have actually rolled it onto their sails themselves, but it connects, dealing a significant amount of damage. That's
Nice.
5d10 against the Thunder's Bite sails for a whopping... Why didn't it do that? Why didn't it do that? I don't know why it did that. Oh, I dropped it in the wrong place. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll get there. Don't know what's going on. Come on, behave. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Right. 40 points of damage. That's almost maximum damage. Slams into the Thunder's Bite sails. Let's go and update those values very quickly. Do I get the date, sir?
How are the sails? Are they broken?
Oh, the sail. They're not broken. They're not broken, but let's just say that their speed has been reduced by 5 foot, putting them down at 65 foot again.
Nice.
I'll be like, I still see sails on there. Come on, you can do better.
You said I was to hit them, sir. I hit them.
Well, they're still up. Take them down. Surely that's worth something. Or did you guess
Pinky's
from
hiding.
me?
Victor Salt, you're up.
Right, I
You've got
would.
one action
like-
left.
Yes, I want to use an action to gnome it. I want to gnome it.
You are going to try and gnome it.
Yes.
Interesting little maneuver. You
But
shout the
yell
order. Gnome it.
I yell back at Luna, take us 3 degrees starboard and go back the other way when I say. And then I sort of start hauling on some sail ropes and I just holding on the rigging. I mean, I'm just captain here. I know what it's called, sail ropes. And just sort of angle the sails to sort of get the ship to sort of just.
Excellent. Give me a deception check.
Yes. No.
There's
Why? Why
there's-
am I so useless?
because it's rope sails, which
Oh,
you're
yeah,
tugging
of
on
course.
frantically. I need to realise that actually is just tied to the longboat, and
you,
it sort
guy.
of wobbles around a little bit. So unfortunately, yes, you desperately try to convince the captain of the Thunder's Bite that you're sailing in one direction when in actual fact you're sailing the opposite run. This does
see,
not
really?
come to pass, however. We
That's all the tricks.
now someone roll a d20 for me, please, as those thunder clouds seem to be moving closer. They don't yet affect the weather conditions. Checking on the speed, you are still moving faster than they are, which means that the distance has now increased to 800 feet. If you maintain this, you will escape from the Thunder's Bite. Moving on, Indigo, you're up first.
Indigo still keeps an eye on the weather, but then she looks over her shoulder and tries to gauge whether the other ship is still going to fire at us.
At this range, they have disadvantage. They might. They seem desperate to try and reduce your speed, but they've got problems with their own sails now being damaged by the scurry, one-eyed map maker named Till.
Then Indigo is using her druid craft and the picture made out of mist, little sparkles of what the weather is going to be like and how the storm is turning out over the sea, to show it to Flick. And I hope to give him an advantage for his reading the wind if he wants to do it.
Oh, lovely. Oh, so you create a magical representation of the weather system. 70% chance in Saltmarsh, 65% chance in Qalt Ax. Yes, lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely. That's what you are doing. Flick!
Oh, very interesting. Yes. Well, if we manage to turn the sails by at least 3.7%, we should be able to get a little bit more wind. All right. Okay. Let's do it.
I'm gonna try. Can I? I can't really read the wind again, can I?
It only lasts for a round, so you can do it, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna do it.
Give me your survival check. You have advantage on this roll because you have a weather report from which you can gauge roughly where you should be going, and you do it perfectly. You maintain
Nice.
your speed. I actually read that incorrectly. You're actually moving an extra 10 foot per round, so you're moving at 75 foot per round at this moment in time. That is what's done, Luna.
And a bottle of banana daiquiris. Sing it with me, Molly!
Banana daiquiris.
3! Slightly better than 2!
Slightly better than 2, increasing your speed to 80 foot per round, taking into account the previous values. The Thunder's Bite, in desperation, absolute desperation, is going to fire one last time with disadvantage over that tremendous range. This is all they've got left. Disadvantage is selected. Here they go. They fire the one chance they had, and it's a hit. There's another thump, rip, tear, shred, crunch as these things slam into the sails, dealing an unfortunate amount of 20 points of damage, almost minimum. However, that does decrease your speed by 5 foot, putting you at 75 again. All the efforts to keep the ship ahead. They are then going to try and do that thing. Where's my d20? Let me just get them all back together again. D20, they're going to try and do this little thing here. They succeed. Their speed is increased by 5 foot, and they're going to do something really spectacular, otherwise they are up the yin-yang. Oh, natural 20 for the Thunder's Bite.
Yeah, that's gonna be us.
What they do is they manage to restore some of their sails. Is it enough? That was 8 in total. That puts them on 32. It doesn't change the current speed. They needed to do more than that to increase their speed. They are still behind you. It doesn't take a genius to work out that they are not going to catch you this round unless something horrific happens to your ship. Jaggedjaw,
I get to fire again, sir?
Hang on to that one. We might need the ammo later.
But I want to go on a date.
All right. You give that a crack, but I need to go over here, and I'll talk to the guys on the aft of the ship, and I'll say, you light up those barrels right now, and I'll grab a nearby lantern.
Yes.
And as I'll go over to them, I'll smash the lantern, set the barrels on fire, and say, all right, kick them over.
Oh,
and I'm going to use debris, dropping fire barrels to create an obstacle.
You are indeed using debris. Lovely. I'm just trying to find it quickly. Where did it go? Just tell me what it does.
Reduces pursuing vehicle speed by 5 foot until the distance between the ship changes. It reduces our stores by 1.
That's right. Your stores drop by 1. You're going to have to go and find out what your stores are, because it's, well, you'll see now when you get there. You throw several of the water barrels over, the flames wrapping around them. There's a hiss and sizzle, but the oil keeps them alight as they slam into the waves and waters, drifting behind as the Second Chance plows ahead of its enemies, reducing their speed even further down. Victor Salt, it's up to you. What are your orders, Captain?
Probably going faster than them already at this point, right?
Yes.
All right, just keep going. Well done, everyone. Just, I don't know. I don't have anything to do. I
Just
don't know.
keep sailing. Just
Yes,
keep
no
swimming.
actions left, right?
All right. You give the order to carry on. Make best speed for there. And the ship does exactly that. Someone roll me a 1d20. Do not roll a 1, because that would cause this whole thing to fall apart. Anybody? I'll roll it. I'm happy to roll it. No, there we go. Not a 1. The seas remain choppy because of the distant storm, but there is no effect to the ships themselves. And with that, there is a smile perhaps that plays across the faces of the crew of the Second Chance as the sails of the Thunder's Bite disappear off the horizon. There is a frustration from them that must occur as they lose sight of their prey. The wind is just not in their favour. You have outmaneuvered. Yay! This cheer goes up from the crew. Damn it all, says Till as he wanders past. He looks at you, Lahuna. I was this close. This close.
And a bottle of banana daiquiris.
Luna, first mate, says Morley.
Oh, hello. What's up?
What direction are we heading in?
We're going to the pit of Gaudragar.
Yeah.
I think it's pronounced that way.
The tone of the crew changes quite dramatically.
I've heard it's lovely this time of year.
There is some heavy breathing, and then there's a little hand that gets raised from one of the deckhands, Tabaxi, known as Draymond Fells.
What is it? Does anybody have a problem with where we're going?
The hand goes down.
No, I was stretching.
You sure? Don't want to speak your mind?
Nope, stretching. It's a tobacco situation.
Good, then I don't want to hear anybody whining to me later, right? Because you have your chance right now to speak up if there's an issue. Good.
Everyone is relatively quiet as They contemplate telling Victor Salt what they really think. No, we're all good. All good.
Not healthy. Not healthy.
Captain,
Sorry,
What?
go for it, Jagsy.
what are we gonna do with them? I'm gonna point at the former compatriots of Galen Primewater, who openly admitted to selling us out to an assassin who almost killed us.
Spike and Rivik.
Where are they standing?
They're standing in the bow of the ship. Not the bow, sorry. They're standing at the aft of the ship, in the stern.
Close to the edge?
Not too close to the edge because they're being shot at by ballista and mangonels and things. So, but they're sort of sheepishly looking around. They were cheering when the Pit of Gaudragar was mentioned. They went very quiet.
Well, I gave them my word that I would let them get off the ship. Which is what I'm going to do.
All right, loud and clear, Captain. I'll start walking
Luna.
towards them.
No, on
You won't
land,
regret
Jagged
this,
Claw.
Captain. So-
Luna, find me an island.
I'll do my best, Captain.
Thank you.
You're not going to
Oh.
leave us on an island in the middle of Bannin's Channel.
Why?
What if we starve?
I'm sure
Oh.
two resourceful people like you will find a way.
There's plenty of food in the sea. You won't starve. You will dehydrate. Which is a far worse way to go.
With respect, Captain, it might be merciful to let them stay with us until we can get them to a place of civilization.
After the pit, in that case.
Could be good for group morale to, make an example of them too.
I'm considering
You
it.
know, maybe the island's not a bad idea. I mean, as you say, we are resourceful and we won't want to slow you down.
Well-trafficked area. I'm sure you can build a fire and somebody will pick you up sooner or later.
Exactly. Look at you, Captain Salt, always thinking ahead of the game. You always were my favourite.
I will walk up
Lying
to the top of them,
won't
though.
help.
And I'll sort of grab them by the neck, or the scruff of their neck. I'll open their shirt and I'll try and find that device that they were using to communicate with.
It's a rather pretty shard of mirror with a copper band around it.
It is in the ocean. I'll search the other one, make sure he doesn't have one.
No, he has a rather fine rapier, but other than that... Ah!
I'll spit on the ground and let them go.
Can we get to that island quickly, please? Got nothing left to throw overboard.
In time.
Oh, I'm sure I'll find something to throw overboard.
I don't think you're in any place to make demands.
They go very
I'll then yell at
quiet.
the crew. What are y'all looking at? Get back to work! Come on!
Working, sir! Working, sir! Says most of them, except for One-Eyed Till, who's gone very quiet, and of course Bethany, who's sitting over the side of the ship contemplating the dark waters. The ship continues to sail in a southeasterly direction and will continue to do so for the next 5 or 6 days before you arrive anywhere near the Pit of Gaudragar. The question that I have for you, crew of the Second Chance, your course could take you straight across the Azure Sea, risking encounters of the unknown, or you could head slightly further south past the Talshan Reef towards the Pits of Gaudragar, or alternatively you could take the scenic route, go past the Shakan Reef via the Korhal Bay, down through the Tlahana Atoll, Monsakari, Bleak Point, and then get to the Pit of Gaudragar.
Lovely.
Yes, that would just take about 2 months.
Nah.
No, I want to sort of gather people together and see what other people think about this.
You
Absolutely.
can
Nice.
hatch the eggs in that 2 months.
No, 6 years, sadly.
Oh,
Yes.
6 years. Oh.
Quite the gestation period.
Also, I think they have to be under the water quite
In the very deep depths, yeah,
Um,
sadly.
Do we want to do this fast, or do we want to do this safe?
Well, Captain, I can say that without a shadow of a doubt, I know my way around the coast. Is if we stay to the coastal regions, I'd be able to make sure that we make good time. That's all the help I can offer. AKA, as a ranger, I make sure that we do not get lost and that we do not get slowed down as long as we are in the coastal regions.
Agsy, how long is it going to have the ship shipyaped?
24 damage, I heal 1d10, 2 days, 3 days? 3 days.
Can I suggest that we go safe, repair the ship on the way, and arrive with a ship that's ship-shaped, rather than not ship-shaped?
That's all well and good, but there's still a ship chasing us.
Your
Well,
experience
we
of... sorry,
I
Michael.
was going to say, we can keep going without slowing down. The sails are the only thing that really got damaged, and they're pretty easy to fix up along route.
She doesn't know where we're going either. Hopefully.
You notice
I
having...
am wondering
Go for it, Mary.
how much water and food we have on board. We don't know how much Garen Prime water put on the second chance when he sent her out. It might be that we need to make some...
Right. Luna, could you
We
do an
need to
inventory?
forage somewhere.
Yes, Captain.
Good. You're right. If we're low on things, we can't exactly go out into the open ocean right now.
Well, Flick and I might be able to create some drinkable water for the crew. Maybe some food, but not for all of them. Not for the whole.
Magically?
Yes, magically, of course. It's
want
just a
us to drink
concentration. Yes, it is the purest water. It is the concentration of the magical essence of life itself.
Right. Maybe if we run out of the other water, we can think about that. What is it, Flick?
I was just going to say I can fish.
Yeah, good. We usually do that anyway, but I mean, I don't know about all of you people, but humans can't survive on only fish.
Oh.
Certainly not without casualties.
We can't?
No, I'm going to start killing people if you make me eat only fish for a week.
It's not a problem of their bodies. It's a problem of your mind.
Yes.
Oh.
In the short term, anyway.
You
Plus some of the
notice
crew.
that the interior has been upgraded, Salt. It isn't the grubby old ship that you once knew, but the officer's table that you're sitting at has a rather fine cloth draped over it, and the table itself appears to have been made by elvish hands, for it has quite a delicate nature to it, and yet is incredibly sturdy.
I've sort of folded aside, as we're talking, I've sort of folded up the tablecloth, and I'm just sort of using a knife to carve something into the tabletop.
And there goes the value of the table.
This is why we can't have nice things.
I'm going to feel comfortable on my own ship, and I'm going to do that, right? Would you
You
rather
like
I throw this out?
Lahuna's just laughing. She's looking at the table underneath the tablecloth.
Was this made of Nan's special elven wood?
Yep. Was. Still is. But there's some interesting cribbage now happening on the side of it, or whatever the term is, I forget now. Anyway, she's scratching, Salt is scratching into the surface of the ship. You are going to go and look at stores, Lahuna?
Yeah. Yeah. If the conversation has drawn to a halt and Captain Salt's gone full scrimshaw on the table, then I am going to bound away and look what's in the bottom of the ship.
All
We'll
right.
stick to the coast for now, until we're sure we have enough stores to go out on the ocean. Bugsy, keep us on course, will you?
I can.
All right, you're going to stick to the coast. So noted, Captain. Flick, what are you going to do whilst this happens? Because this is going to take a couple days.
So many things. So many things.
Are any of them going to explode?
Well, but first of all, I'd like to find my little spot in the bottom of the ship. I assume very worriedly that my small collection of little shells and shiny things has been destroyed, or it's not there anymore.
You can't see it. It's at that point that I want you to make a perception check. Someone is sneaking up behind you.
Oh no!
I'm too worried.
Oh, they've gone. Oh.
There is a cold, wet squirt of water in your left ear. Got you! Ha 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 ha! I assume you're looking for all your bits.
Yes.
Don't worry, they're safe.
Yeah.
Come with me.
Ah, okay.
He leads you down into the hold of the ship, and at the very base of it, let me share this map with you very quickly. At the base of it, as you come down the stairs with Morley, he pushes aside the secret panel. Now, you all know about the secret panel. It doesn't appear to have been touched by the ship's refurbishment. It seems as if Nan had her wits about her. As the panel slides open, Morley says, "Ta-da!" And he points to most of the personal effects of the crew having all been stashed in here.
Oh. Molly, did you do this?
Well, technically you did, because I was you when I did it at the time. I wasn't Morley.
Oh, yes. Flick is very clever.
Oh, yeah.
I think Flick needs a reward.
Yes, he
You pick up
definitely
a
does,
shell?
because he owes a lot of money to a lot of very big, angry people.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick up a shell from my
No,
little hoard.
seriously. So remember there was this downtime where you all were busy doing other things in Saltmarsh, and you said I was you?
Yeah.
Well, some of us may or may not have necessarily gone to the local taverns.
Oh.
Are you aware that the humans have got a little thing called a brothel?
I am aware.
And a stepladder, probably.
Do you know what they do in these brothels?
Yeah.
Oh, so you've had some experience then, have you?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, so did Flick. Yeah.
I see. Right. Well, you see this shell?
Yeah.
I was going to give it to Flick. But
Okay.
since Flick owes a lot of money to a lot of people, I think we'll just leave it with Flick.
Well, it's not that much money, and it's only for all of the chicken wings that I ate.
Yeah, right, of course, yes.
Well, that's what
Okay.
you do at a brothel. It's full of birds, so you just eat chicken wings, right?
Yes, Molly. Yes.
The
that's what
others
we
went
do.
and played games. I don't know what they were doing, but I had some very nice chicken wings, yeah.
Thank you, Molly.
Yeah, you
going
enjoyed
to-
them.
Until we get back to Saltmarsh. If we ever get back to Saltmarsh.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you for saving all of the stuff. Okay, alright. Okay, thank you. Okay.
I'm going to start rummaging through everybody's stuff.
All right.
And while I'm doing that, I want to be casting Detect Magic.
You want to cast Detect Magic? Absolutely. You are. You incant your spell. Your vision starts to shift, and you start to look around. There are very few things that seem to illuminate. There is, however, a chest that illuminates at the far end of the hold. You can't say that you recognize it either. It doesn't look like a salt chest. It certainly doesn't look like it's been beaten up or broken or battered or shouted at, stabbed, or used as a weapon of some kind.
Kicked.
Kicked, yes, absolutely. It does have a small note appinned to the top of it.
Definitely not salt.
does the note say?
It simply says, "To my dearest, dearest, I think you might need these more than I do. And P.S. If you don't eat it within a week, it'll spoil. And I don't want you eating it, do you hear me?" That's all it says, and then there's a heart at the bottom.
Does the chest come unlock?
No.
I'm going to attempt to open the chest.
Constitution saving throw, if you please.
Oh no.
Oh dear.
It's been more than a week.
Cold. You're gonna die in there when we won't save you.
You gag as the stench of rotting squid, and not the good kind of stench, wafts through, tinged with definitely a curry. There's definitely a strong, spicy aroma to this rotting. Yes.
Can I tell what's magical in here?
Through watering eyes and dripping nose, you start to have a look inside. Indigo, what are you doing whilst Flick is...
I get Pinky to look through it.
Splash.
Oh dear.
Food poisoning, that's new.
That's also his comrades. You know that, right? That's curried comrades.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
Disturbing.
Indigo, whilst Flick is engaging in psychological traumatizing of his familiar, what are you doing?
First, Indigo tries to maybe intervene with Victor mutilating the table, or at least turning what he's doing into something that's a little bit more artful and is going to help the soul of the ship instead of frighten her. But if he keeps looking at her really grouchily, she's probably going to...
No, I think if you tell him to stop, he'll just sort of look at you for a second, and then he just slams the dagger tip down, and then he goes into his room. He just sort of, and it sits trembling in the table like that.
Then Indigo very gently removes the dagger, puts it aside, looks at the scratches and marks, and starts to line out with the nail of her thumb, humming to herself what kind of artwork might appear if you just shift a little bit here and paint something there. And she's going to meditate over the ship, her soul, what has changed now, and trying to just
Lovely.
to a place of...
Give me a performance check, if you please.
Sure. Maps, so many maps. Go away, maps. There I am. Performance.
You start to create this most intricately beautiful underwater scene based on the scratchings and damages of Captain Salt. Captain Salt, you yourself have stormed into your room. You don't remember there being this much silk or purple coloration, and the cherubs that are dripping off of your four-post of bed are definitely less clothed than you would like them to be. And is that red hearts engraved into the headboard? Yes, it is.
Well, we'll have enough firewood for a while at least. Is my stuff there, like clothes? I don't know,
Nope.
sharpening stone, nothing. All right. I'm gonna head back outside. Sort of. Indigo, that knife we found back at the mansion. You still got that?
I think so, yes. It should be somewhere with my things.
Could I have it?
Oh, yes, of course.
I'm not gonna throw it at anyone. I
Table?
promise.
Where there's a scene taking shape with underwater creatures frolicking around underwater, kelp scenes, everything made out of his scratches. And
It feels a little bad for carving on the table now.
yeah, she shuffles off to look for the knife. And if she finds it, she's going to bring it back.
Jack and Joel?
Please don't hurt her anymore.
I promise.
Jagsy's going to be on deck, coordinating the deck crew to continue the 8-hour repair of the sails. Because obviously there's still the big pile that Flick was kind of caught up in, and repairing those, and then repairing the damage from the mangonels from the Thunder's bite. Then I'm gonna be over by Morley and basically just keeping an eye out on the reefs and the shallow waters, making sure that we're following with the wind and not getting too close to anything too low in terms of tide or rocks.
Absolutely. Morley is not at the helm at the moment. He is elsewhere, but there is a rather pale-looking individual who smiles at you. Yeah, Jagsy. You think his name is Kinris or Kinnis? Kinnis? You think Kinnis is his name?
G'day, Kitty.
Yes, good day, Captain. Mr. Jaggerjaw. Sorry. New, sort of. Well, not really. I mean, I've been on the ship for 5 years, but I get confused.
No, it's all right. You know, have I thrown you off the ship yet?
No, I haven't had the advantage or the pleasure of your disgorging of my person yet off of the vessel.
I'll sort of lean in really close and sort of have my one beady eye sort of just look him up and down, just think to himself, you look really skinny, barely any meat on those bones.
It's an unfortunate byproduct of not really eating food much.
I'll sort of snarl a little bit, and then I'll yell out at the top of my lungs, Cookie! Can I get a sandwich for this one? He's gonna blow away in the wind.
I wouldn't want to put him at any trouble at all.
You should be right. Cookie!
I have you!
All right, thank you! So, tell us about yourself. When did you decide to set sail on the open water and see strange and exotic sights?
You don't want to hear my story, really.
Hey, put that down! Oh, hey, sorry, 1 second. You, come over here. How many times have I told you you need to use a sailor's knot when you're attaching the rigging to the side? What do you call this?
A sailor's knot?
That is not a sailor's knot. That is an overhang sheep hitch. This is a sailor's knot. Here, this one.
I can never remember. Is it the rabbit goes down the... Yes, all right. Sorry, Mr. Zagazil. I can never remember if it's the rabbit goes down the hole twice and then goes in for supper and then he comes back out again after having looked through the paddock counting the sheep. Wait, aren't there sheep involved in? No. Wait, I'll get it. I'll definitely get it, sir. Definitely.
All right.
You can give me a repair check, if you please, as you have been working on this the sails and rigging with this mad crew.
Huzzah.
I do want to catch Jagsy as well at some point during the day.
Ooh. He was right. He should have used the overhang sheep. I was going through the motions. I just thought it was the sailor was the better one. It clearly wasn't. He was right. It slipped right off. Damn.
Don't worry, sir. It happened to me too the first time. That's why I was doing the overlocking sheep patch of daisies or whatever the hell you call it. I don't know. I should call it a knot. Make sure it doesn't move. But good on trying. Good on trying. Luna,
sort of
you
pat
are...
him on the shoulder like a good job, but it's going to be a slightly harder than he'd like. Good work, sailor.
That's so very kind of you. I do love the physical abuse that this ship seems to dish out at random. It's lovely. So glad I signed up for this. See the world, they said. Oh, yeah. Got slapped on the back by a giant shark, they said. No, they didn't say that, actually. Who the hell am I talking to, he says, and he wanders off looking for someone to talk to. Luna, you are in the hold looking at stores.
Yeah, so I will...
Not a lot of them.
There are not a lot of them.
No.
Oh. Got barnacles.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I make the account of the stores.
All right.
Fairly quickly, apparently, because there's not much to write down. Would you like to give me some specifics?
Yes, indeed. You have got 2 months' worth of stores for 10 people. Your crew complement currently is 20, so you have a month's worth of food. So you've got 2 stores of food. and 2 stores of water, of drink available, and you have got a measly 10 ballista bolts and 8 mangonel shot left.
So we can go a month with food and water and about half the battle.
Depending on how often you fire the weaponry, yes.
Good. Looks like it's time for plan 2. Which was right away. Excellent. So Lahuna writes all this down in very tidy handwriting.
Right.
With lots of drawings on the side. And she folds it up because she'll give it to Victor, and they'll do the thing that they always do, which is he'll pretend that he can read, and she'll tell him what it says. It's a little thing that we do. It's all nice, and I put it in my pocket, and then I go back up to find out what happened to my babies.
Well, as you go back up, you see a very sullen-looking, one-eyed map maker named Till. Is definitely scurvied, sitting there holding the clutch. He appears to be... He's kind of rocking and groaning.
That's how you take care of them.
Well, as you get closer, you realise he's trying to sing. Except
Oh, yeah,
apparently
of
he
course.
believes that you don't need to use keys, but possibly sledgehammers.
Oh yeah.
To open
Keys are overrated, as are pitch centers, and audible text. It's also optional. So I go up to Till, and I tap him on the shoulder and the back, and I say, "How are the babies?"
They're currently sleeping.
They're so cute. I put my arm around him, and I just look down at the little eggs, and I go, "Oh, you're so cute." All right, Till.
I'm fine. Just I can die right now.
Oh, it's the armor. Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
Obviously,
it's lovely.
put my arm around him. He gets a little bit licked. The side effect of being close.
Yeah, that might have to go when we get married, but for now it's fine.
When we what? Sorry.
Nothing.
Oh, look at
Nothing.
that one's smiling.
Yeah, it definitely moved. I saw it move. Definitely something moved. Yes.
Okay, I take the eggs off him, and I sort of rock them back and forwards, and I say, "I'm gonna go see Captain Salt, but I'll talk to you later, okay? You want the karaoke?"
Yes, of course, Sam. Yes, absolutely.
See you later. Bye.
Bye. He sort of
And I go to see
waves.
Captain Salt with the eggs.
The two of you unite.
Me and Salt, right? Not me and Till.
Yes, you insult. Yes.
Right. Second.
Outside
Hey,
the...
Victor, I've got that can you hold the babies?
No, okay, thank you. Yeah,
I'll just speak softly to them. They're just babies.
they're
And I-
eggs, Luna. They're not babies.
The babies. Where do your babies come from?
How are the stores, Luna?
Well, the good news is that we're going to have a great month. The bad news is that after that we're going to be hungry.
A month, alright.
Also, the whole pointy, stabby, hitty, rocky situation is not excellent, but I think that maybe if we find some big rocks, if we happen to pass an island with some nice big rocks, we could pick them up and then we have them for the mangonels and then we can hit people again. That's going to be hard right now. I pass him the note and I dictate it as he reads.
Yes, thank you. Reads. Look at the pictures.
I did draw pictures.
Thank you. How long, Guy, would it take us to get to the pit at the rate we're going?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days.
8 days. So we should be alright. We should be fine
If
for
everything
now.
continues at this speed, but there is a storm building on the horizon.
Well, we should be fine for now.
That big nasty stone's not going to hurt you. No, it's not. No, it's not.
Is anyone doing... Oh, sorry, yes, back to you, Flick. Back to you. You are going to send Pinky.
sorry.
Pinky gives you this soulful look of trust mixed with just a little bit of trepidation.
Don't worry, I'll wash you later.
And then you put Pinky into the chest with the...
No. I hold the top of his head like this, and then he just uses his long tentacles to sift through.
All right.
Okay. Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh.
There is some sludging as he gently and delicately moves aside the entrails of his kin. And then this very sad tentacle covered in a very black sludge of some kind desperately tries to pull on something, and then it pops out. And there appears to be a ring in his little furled tentacle. It has a very large green gem inset into the top of it.
Oh, well done. Well done. Okay, let's take that. Okay. Okay, let's see.
And I'm going to cast Identify.
You cast Identify. The ring glows with a subtle magic. Abjuration washes around its base. And there is a small amount of transmutation magic that seems to be imbibed in this as well. You suspect that it will improve the defences of anyone who dons this particular ring. And may very well give them a slightly better commanding appearance. It is a ring of +1 armour class and +1 to charisma.
Ooh.
Well,
Captain Jaxie.
I think you should have this.
Its little tentacles reach out towards the ring.
I'm going to put it on a tentacle.
With glee, the tentacle wraps around the ring as it sort of threads its own tentacle through and around, sort of knotting itself against the ring. And then there's blind panic once it's realised it's tied its own little tentacle into a knot around the ring. So there's lots of sort of tentacular action going on as it sort of balls up and comes right.
Put it on.
It seems to calm down.
Okay.
You're going back into the chest or closing up this box
Oh,
of...
yeah, I closed that up. When I cast Detect Magic, by the way, it's 30 feet.
Yes. There is still more in the chest that glows.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Okay. You've done a good job. Yeah, go
wash.
Digging through the sludge, you're going to have to give me a dexterity saving throw, please.
No. Oh no.
It's slippery.
Well, at least I've kept Piggy alive.
Traumatized.
Miraculously.
Oh,
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. There is the very sharpest of pain that lances across your fingers. You realise something has either bitten you or something, as your immediate reaction is to jerk your hand out. In doing so, the black sludge parts very briefly like a biblical ocean, and at the bottom you can see the glint of a blade that does not look like it has been touched by this black Icarus stew at all. You do, however, suffer a small amount of damage. 3 points.
good. Okay. I'm gonna. There's no holes in this part of the ship, are there?
There are no?
There's no portholes.
No, not at this level of the ship, no.
Okay. Any water barrels?
Yes, plenty. The stores of the ship are yours to access.
I'm not going to move.
Okay.
I'm going to cast Shape Water, one of my cantrips,
Yes.
and just get a little stream of water, like, through the air. And just,
That's
start-
amazing!
Says Morley from behind you.
What? What are you still doing here?
I'm not here, Flick's here.
Shush. Shh. Doing magic things.
And I'm going to just keep flooding the chest and getting rid of all the thing. It's going to overflow and start soaking into other people's belongings. But I'm just going to clean the chest out.
All right. The chest contains, apart from the remains of the stew, there is definitely a sword. It looks to be a cutlass of some kind, with a very intricate handle, which is definitely carved out of the ivory of some great long-lost beast. The blade itself appears to be definitely steel, but it looks like it almost looks like the spray of the sea has been encased or captured within the steel framework. There's a belt, quite a fancy little buckle that appears to be 2 interlocking octopi. There's a rather sad clump of fabric, but it does seem to have some interesting patterns woven into it. And then very finally, there is a feather, which sticks out of this entire collection.
And these are all glowing?
They are all glowing with subtle magical attributes, yes.
Okay. Right.
It's a nice feather.
What?
It's a nice feather, that.
Stop it. Go away.
Oh, you go away.
Ollie.
He sighs, and you hear stomp, 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 stomp.
Okay. I'm gonna cast Mage Hand and close the
sliding door?
thing. So I'm sitting there kind of in the dark with
Yep.
the faint illumination of my Mage Hand magic, and I'm just gonna cast Identify on all of these.
All right. And work your way through them. As you slide the door shut from a few feet away, you hear Morley go, "Oh, that's not fair," as he can no longer see into the room. The items, as you go through the identifications, the sad cloth, it appears to be a cape of quite remarkable design, and the properties are definitely abjuration against the elements. This cape will certainly make life a lot more comforting for those who don it under extreme weather conditions of heat and cold. The leather strip, the belt with the entwined octopi, definitely give whoever wears that the attributes of an octopus insofar as being able to climb and shape change into different sort of bits and pieces. Not completely shape change, but they can basically become a sack of tentacles and slip through things. So that's what the belt does. The feather is rather remarkable. It doesn't seem to have a huge amount of properties until you look at it, and as you're doing so, the feather pops up onto its tip and immediately starts scratching out onto the wood of the deck. Flick, with his eyes aglow, filled with magic, started to look at the quill. It danced in front of him as if brought to life by magic. Perplexed, the little Seabold continued to stare at the quill as it continued to write what he was seeing. "What kind of magic was this?" he exclaimed! Exclamation mark. No apostrophes. Batting his eyelids, Flick continued to stare at the quill. If the quill had eyes, it would stare back, but it couldn't, so it continued to write what he was seeing.
Well, Flick is considering stabbing Jagsy with it, so
The threat of violence did not deter the quill as it continued its efforts to describe everything it possibly could, committing it to memory for all eternity.
Enough of that.
As you pick it up, it stops moving.
Oh.
I just smell like my nan's curry. You tuck the quill behind your ear.
Yep. And what about the cutlass?
The cutlass appears to be a particularly sharp blade, but as you hold it up, it looks as if it's a stream of water constantly flowing and constantly moving. What its properties are, you're not a warrior, so you're not entirely convinced. However, you suspect that this blade may do more damage under the water than it does above the water, to the effect that its damage is enhanced by an additional 1d6 points of water damage upon striking the target.
I'm going to collect all of these up in a little bundle. By the way, with my magic sense,
Yes.
did I sense that dagger?
No. Because it's a cone that you're sensing in front of you, isn't it?
Is it 30 feet in front of me?
I think it's a cone in front of you. I stand to be corrected.
Oh, within 30 feet of you.
Ah, all right. In that case, no, you don't see it. Indigo and the captain are at the stern of the ship.
Too far away. Okay, that's fine.
All
So I
right.
just collect up the
Captain,
bundle.
you get the dagger from Indigo. Indigo, you give it to the captain, I assume?
Yes. And then she turns back to the table.
Thank you. I'll just leave you to that.
What are you doing with the dagger, Salt?
First of all, I'm going to do some stuff with it as we travel later. But
Okay.
for now, I want to sort of go find Jagsy.
Easy enough.
Twirling dagger in my hand, back and forth. Jaggerjaw.
So you see, sir, if you take the rabbit and you hop around the hole 3 times and then you feed it the dog, look.
Could I borrow my
Yeah.
bosun for a
Doesn't
minute?
Oh, yes, of course, Captain Salt.
All right, Jags. Sort of lead him away.
swear
a few steps.
I thought I spoke common, Captain, but clearly there are many things I have still yet to learn. I have not a single clue what that boy was just talking about.
You get used to it, Jagsy. You get used
Aye.
to it.
How can I help?
I just wanted to thank you
For what?
for what happened earlier with Felon Held. I think you did the right thing. Even if it pains me to admit it. And even if I don't like it.
Aye, Captain. Look, I appreciate the sentiment, but look, you and I, we know what this is all about. I'm not here to make friends. I'm not here to be a risk to your crew. I'm here to do what needs to be done. My goal, my job, is the survival of this ship.
Yeah.
And
It's supposed
Pardon
to be my
the,
job as well.
but pardon any disrespect, Captain, but you're on your own journey, and, well, I ain't gonna let that get in the way of my duty. There are gonna be times where... Oh, sorry, you go.
You're saying the journey I'm on is gonna stop me from doing that? Protecting the
I'm
ship?
saying that any journey you're gonna be on, Captain, is gonna be filled with blood. Either yours, the crew's, or your enemies. And whether or not you want to shed that blood, that's on you. That's for your conscience to deal with. But people like me, people make their decisions about my kind just from looking at us. We don't take too much stock what's morally right or morally wrongs. But if I see someone threatening this ship, if I see something that's a threat to you or any of the other crew, you rest assured, blood will spill.
I've spilled enough blood in my life, but I won't let anyone hurt the crew. Even if it means, I don't know, maybe I'm being selfish. Trying to change who I am, and if that hurts the crew because I can't act when I need to.
Well, that's what you got us for, Captain. Look, every single person here, they bring something. They bring something to this crew that no one else can, right?
Yes, that's it. The rabbit. The rabbit goes in the hole. No, wait.
Shut up!
Sorry.
For example, on any other day, I'd turn around and eat that person. But since we have Lahuna on our crew, I've learnt this, what's that R word again? Restraint.
Right.
If it weren't for Flick and his antics, as it were, we'd probably have the drop laid on us hundreds of times over by now. And if it weren't for the good luck Indigo brings, and her ability to read the ocean like, you know, you read books, we'd probably be lost at sea, swirling around chasing our own fin. What I'm saying, Captain, is this ain't all on you. And if you need something, it ain't our job to stop you. It's our job to make sure that you can do what need be done.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if I'm bringing anything to the table right now. I don't even own this ship anymore, technically.
Well, they're gonna have to pull this ship from your cold dead hands.
Yeah, you're right about that. Well, continue. Thanks.
Indigo?
Indigo passes by while they are talking with an armful of art supplies and says, "Oh no, the table is fine now, and we will take care of the rest of the ship. You're bringing a lot of things to your table, and it's a beautiful table."
All right. Good. Carry on.
I will.
Where did she get the art supplies?
I don't know.
That's fine. That's fine.
know.
I'm not even gonna think about it.
It's like she has access to some dimension which keeps a bunch of stuff. Is that a druid thing? Do they?
I don't
Yeah,
know. I just know that I had to take at least 15 chisels off her at some point or another.
Maybe she breathes them in the hold.
And so the second chance continues to sail across the waters. Flick, very quick question. What are you doing with the equipment that you found?
I'm going to give the cutlass to Salt.
All right.
But I'm not going to give it to Salt directly. During the journey, I'm going to sort of try and hide it in... I'm going to try and sneak into Salt's room and hide it somewhere. But somewhere obvious that Salt is going to immediately notice. We're going to be weirded out that somebody snuck in and put something in the room.
All right, who put this sword in my room?
Everyone looks at the deck, starts counting the number of seagulls they can't see.
Who did this?
Oh, it's very shiny, isn't it?
Flick. Did you put this in my room?
No.
Then why were you laughing?
Gotta go. Bye.
Run off.
Jagsy?
Don't go in my room.
Well, as she's sort of saying that, seeing that there's, obviously, Gellin has taken some liberties with the aesthetic of the place, and Lahuna with her art supplies, I'm going to issue an order to a portion of the deck crew that's not making themselves useful, to go around and ungellin the ship. Starting, of course, with the officers' quarters and then moving outwards, basically to try and restore it as best they can. Anything that they find that is Gellin-esque to put into a big barrel to basically be used as debris.
Nice.
All right. That's what you're doing. Lahuna, what are you doing while the ship is sailing?
Lahuna continues to tend the eggs and organize karaoke, which she hopes will raise the crew's morale. That's her end goal with the karaoke thing. So I will attempt to raise the... Oh no, I can't do that. Can I do that? Can I attempt to raise the crew's morale? Raise the crew quality?
Indeed.
What am I rolling? Am I rolling?
You are rolling a persuasion or intimidation check, depending on whether you want to inspire them or order them to be better.
Oh, I am all about persuasion.
With karaoke, maybe go for intimidation.
Either sing or work. Oh, it was so close to a 19. It was so close
to 19. It was not a 19.
Yeah, you see, this was the problem. You tried to persuade them to go into karaoke. I think Indigo called it. You should have tried to intimidate them. Sing or work.
Tail was my front runner for the karaoke, and I think that was the problem there.
That was the problem there, yes. When his rendition of My Heart Will Go On, oh, Danny boy, down the road and back to you. Yeah, it didn't.
Luna's in the front row with a candle like this.
Yes. So that didn't go down so well. You are approaching, Captain. You are getting to the territories where you are very close to Saltmarsh if you continue on your route.
Now let's cut across the ocean at this point.
All right. You have come across multiple little islands from which you can quite happily gather stores. I just need you to give me, please, whoever's going to lead the store expedition, just very, very quickly give me a survival roll. Yes, Flick.
Well, I was going to say I lead it because I've got that thing.
You've got that thing, absolutely. All right. So Jagajaw is trying to get ship parts, excuse me. You failed to do that, but Flick, you can give me a survival check, please. Yes, you increase the stores. You can increase the food and water by 1 each for each island that you're stopping at. Yes, Lahuna?
Can we find any large mangonel-style rocks?
I think with that good roll of the Sharkans, where you were sort of looking for bits and pieces, a 12 is more than sufficient. You can add another 4 boulders of fairly equitable weight and distribution to your armory.
Yay, rocks!
I will yell at the crew who I asked to go and bring lumber, who brought back rocks. I will have them reprimanded for it.
What happens when you send a hooter along?
All right. Now, look very carefully. This here, timber. This, a bloody rock. Now, can you explain to me which one of you went off here, went to town, and thought, oh, that's what Jagsy really needs, a big pile of rocks?
Lahuna's sneaking off.
One individual who has fiery red hair. It apparently is growing out of everywhere. You're not entirely sure what species this individual is because there's hair growing out of the sleeves, there's hair growing out of the ears, out of the nose, the eyebrow hair. You think has a slight gap between the hair on the head, and the hair growing from the chin seems to reach down to the very hairy feet. You know his name to be Rashad or Rochard or Roe. Some just call him Fitzgerald. He looks at you.
Rosa.
Oh, hi, well, you see, the problem was, there, Jugsy, that they, well, we went aboard and, you know, the island, it's very confusing. There was lots of, well, you know, it's a long thing and a round thing, and, well, we sort of picked up the first thing that we came across, and it was all a high, and then suddenly there was a hey nonny, and it was all just over, and then we ran out of time, really, basically. I mean, this is pretty much the gist of the entire cable.
I turn to a nearby crewman, and I say, crewman, give me a knife.
Yes?
I take the knife, I'll walk up to this big mound of hair, and I'll go, hold still. I grab him by
what do you want me to hold?
I grab him by his bangs and his eyebrow hair, and I just go, and I cut it so that he can actually see. Next time, lumber.
I'm on a bloody ship! Shit!
He says, wandering off.
Bloody hell.
And so the second chance continues to sail across the azure sea. Day after day, more discoveries of crewmen who were not entirely sure where they were seemed to plague this poor vessel, until eventually there is the one sign that has been hanging over you like a dark, dark cloud. You have arrived at the pit of Gaudragar. The water itself is this beautiful azure colour, as befitting the name of the ocean in which you sail, except at the very centre where the pit lies, it is absolutely black. So black, as a matter of fact, you're not entirely sure if there is actually water there, or if it is actually just a hole all the way down into the depths of Avernus itself.
Right.
The ship comes to a stop.
We're here!
No, thank you. Luna,
Captain?
you're the mermaid here. How do we do this?
I lean over the side and I say, hey, fishy, 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 fishy.
What are you doing?
I'm just seeing if there's anything really close that's gonna, you know, I lower my voice. Giant eaters or anything?
I drop Pinky in the water.
There's some splashing.
Not only do we need
Tentacled canary.
A little tentacle pops up, giving you a... You think it's a thumbs up, or it could be a middle finger up, or... Without fingers, it's difficult for Pinky to fully express himself using hand gestures, but there is a tentacle that has risen out of the waters.
It's okay, Captain.
The tentacle then goes... disappears under the water. There's some bubbles, followed by a darkening of the water, which is definitely Pinky's ink squirting having taken place.
Maybe not. Okay.
Can I communicate with Pinky?
I put another scratch on the rail.
It's silence. Yes, Lahuna.
How much do we know about the Pit of Golgur?
It is a bottomless pit from which all Kraken are said to have been born and spawned and returned to after they have fed and satiated themselves upon the blood of whales.
So it's a bad neighborhood.
Pretty bad neighborhood, yes. It's also generally an area where younglings go to dare themselves to see how far down they can swim, because it really is bottomless. The types of creatures that one encounters there are strange, twisted, dark things with lots of teeth and glowy bits that snap and bite. But don't dare... excuse me, don't dare enter into the shafts of light that try to stab down into the depths. The deeper you go, the colder it gets. How deep it actually is, nobody knows.
And just to recap, we are looking for the final part of the artifact.
Yes,
which
you
the
are
recap makes
here
up.
to meet or find Gaudragar the Ancient, who is said to live in the Pit of Golgur.
Right. I think I have a potion somewhere if it hasn't gone bad.
Oh, by the way, do we have a long rest?
You have had plenty of wrong lists. Let me just assign it to you. Thank you for reminding me. Menu. Long rest. You've got all your spells and everything back.
So if I can... So when I try to telepathically link myself to Pinky,
Yes,
it's nothing.
there is nothing.
That means he's dead?
There is nothing. You've never experienced this before.
All right. Well, I suppose someone needs to test out the waters. Take my anchor up.
What do you say, Jaxie? Should we go together?
I think that'd be best.
Don't want anyone to go alone doing this, alright? Just...
Oh yeah, me and Luna go in. I mean,
Yeah.
we're both pretty big and muscly. I reckon if anything, we'll knock some sense into whoever's down there. Oh, just before that, I'm gonna quickly duck into the kitchen. Gogi.
Your sandwich is ready. What do you... I don't know.
It was ready days ago. It was ready days ago.
Yeah, exactly. You want more?
Okay, no. I need some sponge or something. Collecting Kraken tears while I'm underwater might be tricky. If you want the Kraken
moment
tears...
has arrived. I have been ready for this for some time, my friend. Here.
Okay.
He hands you this very, very dense sponge. Wipe this across the eyeball of one of those octopods. The tear should be ours. It would help if you tell it a sad story about its parents hating it, but whatever. Get the thing to cry.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Cookie. All right, I'll run back to Lahuna. All right, I'm ready.
Indigo.
Indigo is on deck and she has a handful of wood shavings that somehow came into being while she was renovating everything on board. And de-gallanifying the carobs and everything in Victor's chamber. They might now have turned into mermaids and swarms of fish.
I'll take
Maybe
it.
that's better depending on what it is. Well, she's got these shavings and they're painted with little blossoms and things like that, and she throws them overboard and uses druid craft to turn them into a puff of actual blossoms and leaves and watches them drift down to the sea. And she's probably convinced that she can tell something about what's down there and what's going to happen from how they fall and how they drift. But she looks very trained doing it.
Flower Curie.
The petals seem to bob and drift on the water as it swirls towards the center of this pit. As it gets to the very middle of this dark water, they start to dance around themselves in greater and greater fury. Flamenco dancers have nothing on your petals, and then suddenly they disappear under the water surface.
Oh.
I think we need to go down there, but there's no guarantee that we will ever come back up again.
Yeah, I think there might not be a choice. If what happened to those pedals happens to us, I reckon we're gonna go down super fast. So how about we get some rope just in case, eh?
I like this idea. This is a good idea.
Alright, I'll secure some rope to us in the mast. I'll make sure it's like enough to go, let's say, 40 foot out from the ship, including the descent.
Okay, and then you're tying to each other.
Well, no, we'll have a rope each.
Oh, I see. All right. Absolutely. That's what you're doing. Flick, you've snuck away, possibly. What you doing?
Where are the two gentlemen that are in the employ?
Assumedly, they were dropped off at one of the islands that the supplies were gathered from.
One fairly close to a trading route.
Okay, fine. Yeah, I just watched Eggsy.
All right. Ropes are ready. The water awaits.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
You leap into the frigid, cold waters, and yet, for Jagsy and Luna, Indigo, do you leap in?
The plan was for Lehuna and Jaggerjaw to leap in. If anyone expects Indigo to go too, she's like, "Oh, I can go." If you think I'm going to be of any help,
let them check out the situation first. See if there's anything going to.
Right. As soon as I hit the water, I want to use my electro perception, and detect. Well, the way it works is for 120 foot away while I'm underwater, I can detect electrical impulses from living beings.
That's right.
Lehuna?
There is a wonderful, comforting feel that both of you experience as the cold water embraces you. Old family returned from a long, long, distant journey. You reach out to your senses and there is life all around you. Unfortunately, it seems to be moving all around you at quite a rapid pace. And it is then, Lehuna, as your tail is busy reforming itself, giving you once again the ability to swim like a fish, that both of you realize you have been caught in a very strong undertow. You need to give me strength saving throws, if you please, if you want to stay where you are.
Do we get advantage because we have the rope?
I'll talk to you about the rope shortly.
I don't like that guy. I do not like that. Okay, here we go.
What's up the rope?
Uh-oh. Hey!
Wow! Well, combined you fail.
Team!
Well, there's consistency in your failure, at least. As you are swept along, you have the rope with you. The rope is pulled taut and almost threatens to cut itself free of whatever it is that you are using to hold on to it. Your hands, your waist. It is pulled tight. On the surface, Salt, Indigo, and Flick, you see the rope has become taut. It is pulling against the mast, and it is as if you have caught some very large fish. What are the three of you doing?
I'm gonna brush over and start hauling it in and go, everybody, come on, haul!
All right, that's what you are ordering, Indigo?
Indigo is testing the strength of the rope and tries to gauge whether it's going to snap.
You don't think it's going to snap. You think it would snap whoever's holding onto it first before the rope gives way. It is a very well-made sailing rope.
So it's probably going to hurt whoever is on the other end.
Most likely.
Then Indigo draws her dagger and cuts the rope and holds onto it, so she's going...
All right, you're going to cut one of the ropes. Flick!
What are you doing?
Who's rope?
Wait, what?
Indigo is holding the rope?
Indigo is about to cut one of the ropes and go with it, whilst Salt is busy hauling on one of the other ones, shouting, "Everyone!"
As Indigo raises the dagger, I'm going to jump on her leg and just go, wait!
All right, that's what you are desperately trying to do. Indigo, do you stay your hand?
For a second, and she asks very calmly, "Why?"
No reason. Just wanted to go with you.
Good. She cuts the rope.
Both of you are pulled off the deck. Salt, you have a whole bunch of crewmen looking at you. They look at where Indigo and Flick once were. Captain?
I
Pull or toss?
who is at the edge of the rope I'm holding on to?
At the edge is the very, very, very tall form of a lad, and he is holding the rope quite firmly.
On the other end of it, who am I holding on to?
You're not entirely sure in the confusion.
Right. Don't keep pulling!
They all heave. Okay, Lahuna, Jagsy, would both of you roll a d6, if you please?
Bollocks. All right.
Someone's going in.
Dang it.
Listen, you've got to stop copying each other's rolls, please. It's getting embarrassing.
Looks like we're both going in, boys.
Yeah, that's it. So you somehow managed to cut both ropes with the one slice.
So what happens is, and I'm going to roll it so that we don't get a bloody natural one. And we get another one anyway, so there we go. I give up. That's what it is. That's what it is.
It's just a one. One.
So, yes, you take 1 point of damage, Jagsy, as the rope is pulled on you for just a moment, and then it shreds as you are tugged into the darkness. Salt, you and the crew are thrown back onto your backs. That's okay, Jagsy, because just before that happens, you watch as Lahuna, Indigo, and Flick rocket past you, caught in this incredibly strong vortex which sucks you down into the darkness.
Are you down there? Woo!
Yes, Indigo.
Are there any water plants?
Nothing. Just very dark, deep water as far as the eye can see.
Well, adventure it is.
Adventure it is indeed. You spiral down, moving faster and faster, the water getting colder and colder and darker and darker and darker, until there is a decided lack of light, and the movement starts to slow down. There is a huge shoal of fish which washes up in front of you. There must be millions of little silver fish all arrayed in front of you. They're brilliant chainmail-like scales weaving in and out, washing up and down and around. And then suddenly they turn into this large face, this ancient face with a sunken skeletal-like nose, and little fish are swimming in and out of this shape that it has made, and the face says, "Who dares disturb the pit of Gaudragar?"
Hi! I'm Lahuna.
That's what... Jagsy's swearing in Shakan. Indigo?
Once you come from the warmer seas and from the shores, and those who will seek to ban and banish the dark tide.
I like your shiny face.
What?
Oh, sorry, I was talking to Gedra, is it?
That's what you're saying. Flick, what are you doing?
Have you seen a little pink octopus?
That's what you're asking. Okay. As you ask that, the shoal, the whole face, and it is this wall, easily 60 foot in height, changes shape, and there is this pink torpedo that is fired out of the mouth. It comes sailing towards you, Flick, and explodes as he slams into you, dealing 1 point of damage. Apparently that's all the D6 is going to be doing today. Slams into and then wraps his tentacles around you in absolute terror and fear, trying to almost become one with you. And I will share with you now, very quickly, this map that I have here, and show you where you find yourself as this tremendously large tentacle starts to reach up. The fish all scatter and disperse as this large tentacle rises from the deep and lifts itself up towards you. Here is the map for you to have a look at if you are watching the stream. I will zoom in to show you how large the tentacle is.
That's a big tentacle.
It is a big tentacle, and it seems to hover poised for just a moment, and then as it starts to move towards you, Lahuna, it stops and says, "You seek You seek Gadra?"
Yeah, we're looking for Gadra.
Are you selling something?
No.
Oh, all right then. The tentacle transforms into this very small, wizened-looking woman. She is of purple skin. She's got this very white, wispy hair that drifts around her. She could be an aquatic elf of some kind. You're not entirely convinced what she actually is, but yes, she transforms before you. What can I do for you? I'm Gadra. Some call me the Elder. I think that's rude. Yeah?
You can transform into a hanger from the deep. Or was it an illusion?
Oh, that's what she calls krakens.
Yeah, no. On the same page. Totally on the same page. Don't worry. I speak aquatic elf. I'm right there with her. Right there with you, my darling. Yeah, no, absolutely can transform into a kraken. Yeah. That's what I do. I kraken form. Yeah. Crackalacken.
Kraken amazing.
Kraken thing. So why are you here? We very often don't get visitors ever at all, actually. So it's pretty cool to see you. It's quite nice, actually.
We are nothing. You can turn into one of the most powerful creatures in all the world. What a marvelous shape. How does it feel?
Long?
Oh, and we're here to find the last piece of a very important artifact to save the Azure Sea, I think.
It's called the aha because you see things through it.
The aha.
It looks like this.
It's made out of two scapulars. Of
Oh,
some
you mean the Kentra aha? Oh, aha. Yeah, okay, I get you now. Yeah, you should have just probably called it by its full name. Okay, so they've sent you here, have they? Are they pulling that card now, are they? Is that what it is? I get nothing, not even a bloody postcard, and that's what they like. Yeah, okay, now just give them the artifact. That's what I
What's
get.
a postcard? Should we have brought one?
Don't worry about it. It hasn't happened yet. Oh, no, probably not. Right, so you want this, right, okay, so, yes, I know how this is supposed to work now. Okay, I want you all, there's a riddle, that's right, there's a mystic riddle, there's a mystic riddle that you have to solve, and then I will give you that which you seek, oh, fair travellers of the deep.
I love riddles. I'm not very good at them.
Are you not very good at them, then?
No, but I love them.
Okay.
Tell me.
No. That's okay. That's okay. What about a challenge then?
She
How are you with
loves
challenges?
a lot of things she's not good at.
What's the riddle? What's the riddle?
Well, if you're not very good at riddles, then there's no point in asking you, because if you don't get it right, I've got to kill you. And that's just boring.
She's not good at riddles.
I'm messy.
Hey,
Well, I'm not bad at riddles.
Hey.
Yeah?
excuse me.
Little blue...
Blake's really clever.
Floaty
I
thing.
bet he can do the riddle.
Yeah, I don't know. What about a gift?
A gift? Like, what do you mean, like... I quest you to go and give a gift to a one-eyed troll who lives on the top of a mountain. Just don't tell my mother I called her that, alright? Just don't...
No, he runs our mangonel.
A what?
Don't talk about Till that way. He's got a very sensitive side and a beautiful voice.
No.
Fair enough. So no, gifts are out. Okay, what else? Come on. Give me some ideas here. Let's get this going.
Let's do the riddle. Let's do the riddle.
But you said you weren't very good at riddle. I don't want to have to kill you all. I've only just met you. You might be nice people.
Well, what if
We
we get
are lovely
like a
people.
riddle each?
You what?
But would you not have to kill us, no matter what we do, if we fail? That is.
Well, of course, if you fail at it, you're going to have to die. I mean, that's how it works, isn't it?
What if we did karaoke together and then we'd pass the test? Because karaoke's amazing. And then you can't fail at karaoke.
Stretches out her arm and gently, very gently puts her fingertips on Lahuna's mouth.
Yeah, I'm afraid I'm with what was your name again? He says, pointing at you, Indigo.
Indigo.
Is
Indigo.
frozen in terror. Okay, it happens. It does happen. I know. I'm
back.
I'm impressive. Yes. You're probably still stuck on the tentacle thing. Yeah. Right. So no, karaoke is definitely out. I can't hold a tune at all. Sorry. I can whistle. Not underwater, obviously, because that's just bubbles. Yeah, got to be smart in that. Something else. Come on. Time is precious. Precious is time.
What about an eating contest?
Done.
Find
Done. I like that. Yes, eating contest, because you all eat, and if you lose, I'll eat you, and that will be ironical justice. Yes, that's it. That's exactly what we're going to do. Eating contest. I like it. And he suddenly turns into this massive shark. 300-400 foot in length, jaws maybe 50 foot wide. The teeth alone stand 4.5 foot high. That's the small ones at the front. He looks down at it and he goes, "Let's start!" And
Wait,
we'll be
can you
back
do it,
next
Kraken?
week when Ghost of Saltmarsh continues. We run out of time for today. Throwing some love out to our wonderful sponsors, Fantasy Grounds, for giving us that virtual tabletop of choice, providing us with all those wonderful combat opportunities for
Wonderful.
ship battle. Some great rolls there, which really made everybody have to think long and hard to figure out what the hell was going on. And World Anvil for collating everything, bringing everything together. Really do love that World Anvil stuff. Go and check it out. And Dungeon Fog for creating the very brief map that we saw of the Pit of Golgur. We will be back with the Pit of Golgur, I promise you that much, next week when the adventures continue. Please bear in mind we might very well have to move the time frame of the show yet again, just to accommodate more live broadcasts and coolness from the Dungeons and Dragons Twitch channel, so bear that in mind. The show will end shortly, but join us for Below the Decks. That's on the channel twitch.tv/greatgm, which will start in about 5 minutes or so, where you get to hang out with these crazy crew members. And we talk t-shirts, we talk craziness, we talk bear ears. There's another interesting one to say aloud. Anyway, to my wonderful players, thank you for participating. To all of you, thank you for watching. And remember, you can catch these on YouTube, on the Dungeons & Dragons channel, and then 2 weeks later on the GM channel. Until next time, however, I wish you all the happiest of gaming.